Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel Risk Modeling Guru. Today I'll walk you through a complete roll rate analysis that I have built across a personal loan portfolio. In the last video I have discussed about that. So if you haven't watched the default definition, the video on that which we have discussed the roll rate, the vintage and the regulatory definition understanding. So if you haven't watched that video till yet, please click the link in the I button or you can check out my channel to explore more videos on such topic. So, by the end of the today's session, you will understand exactly how I have arrived at the operational definition of default, and you will also see a forward forecast for few of the months to understand where this portfolio is heading. But before I dive into the spreadsheet, let me frame why this matters. Every lending institution faces the same fundamental question: at what point do we stop expecting a delinquent account to recover and instead recognize it as a loss? And that single decision derives loan loss provisioning, capital allocation, regulatory reporting, and most importantly, the earnings. So, if you are setting the threshold too early and you over provision against the accounts that you have cured naturally, and if you are setting the threshold too late, you are under reserving, and that will caught your attention too short because this will lead to the accounts delinquency to the write offs. So the Basel standard says the 90 days DPD, but that's a regulatory floor and not a portfolio specific answer. What we are going to do today is to derive the default threshold mathematically from our own portfolio waiver, and then we'll verify whether it is aligning with Basel or not. And therefore, I have defined some of the steps that we have discussed in the last video as well, and we'll see that practically. So let's get started. And this is the starting point, the data part. So basically, here 50,000 rows of the account level data is there, where one row per loan for each of the accounts. And I do have marked the account ID, the origination date, the month 12. I am taking that, assuming that the account is there at least on a book for 1 month, for 1 year. So I am marking the month 12 status here, and then I am also marking the month 13 status here for each of the accounts to understand. So if you look at the column C and D, these aren't just the continuous days past due numbers. These are the bucketed things that have been categorized into the different states. So if you look at the month 12 status, there is the clean status, then 0 to 29 DPD, 120 plus DPD, 30 to 59, and so on. Different DPDs criteria have been specified based on the account number and based on what exactly from the origination date till the month 12, exactly on the month 12 what exactly is the status after the origination, and then on the month 13 as well. So if you look at this validation panel, the accounts that have been characterized based on the month 12 counts is 40,000 are the accounts that are clean, 6,000 accounts approx are in the 0 to 29 bucket, and these sums, these accounts numbers all add up to 50,000, and that's what my total account status, total accounts count is over here. Okay, now let's move on to the defining the buckets. So basically, if the delinquency state is clean, it means that no payment is due and hence the low risk. If you are moving further across the delinquency buckets, 30 to 59 or 60 to 89 and so on, you are, and if you understand that 0 to 29 means that 0 means in the clean state, but still in the bracket form I do have included. It means that 1 to 29 days past due, 90 to 119. Yeah, here we should have 1 to 29 if we are assuming it. Yes, so 1 to 29 DPD means 1 to 29 days past due. It means that if you see in the color coding, it is gradually increasing from green to red, means from low risky to medium risky to high risky, and then the default. Basically these two are the default status. If you see, these two should be the my default status, and this is the very high state. So color coding is moving from green to yellow to red as the riskiness is increasing, and basically our target is to derive the threshold such that if it is aligning, if it gets aligned with the Basel III default standard, it will give us a liberty, or I would say a relaxation in our mind to explain to our senior stakeholders as well, that because it will give them a bit of confidence. So the question here we are actually answer, does the default really start at 120 or 90 or 60? So that's what we need to understand from the distribution perspective. So at the observation point, month 12, what does our portfolio look like? That should be your question, and that's what I am going to define here. The observation point is that, like, at the end of the 12 months after the origination, from for which I do have fetch the data from the data tab, this first tab. The count of the customers here is the 50,000 customers, and the idea is to look at the percentage of the portfolio and the cumulative percentage as well, and to see the some visual graphical representation, so that instead of numbers, if you are showing these to senior persons, they first want to look through diagrammatic representation, and then they will dig into the numbers. So I simply put a countif formula into from the data sheet, and then I calculated the customers for each bucket, and then the portfolio distribution. Like here, 80% of the accounts are performing. This means these accounts are completely clean and no payment is due. But 12% are still sitting in the 0 to 29 DPT. This means that a little bit of degradation has started, from if you see from the riskiness color. Right, and then 8%, approx 8%, if you see from here, 4. So approx 8% is genuinely in the delinquency buckets, the 30 plus DPD buckets, from where the medium riskiness gets started. And only 2% are very much severely delinquent. If you look at the two charts, the clustered column chart, if you look at over here, you will see a steep drop after the clean. That's the healthy shape of a normal portfolio, because a high number of clean customers should have a greater percentage in a vintage that you are considering. And if you look at the pie chart over here, it shows a percentage of mix that we have overseen in the percentage of the portfolio mix, and the slice that gives you an immediate visual sense of where the risk concentration majorly is, from the numbers to the risk visual presentation. Now, this 2%, this means that approx 1000 from 50,000 of the customers are severely delinquent accounts, and this is where most of our loan losses are coming from. So basically, roll rate analysis is really about understanding how the other 49,000, these 49,000 customers, how are they moving, or what exactly is their tendency. So for that, we need to understand the migration analysis, because first we have understood that 80% of our portfolio is clean and the performing, and 8% sits in the delinquent buckets, and only 2% is severely delinquent. So from here we can see that, at least from a high level, that 90% is coming out as a primary candidate set for the default definition that we'll see across further. Now let's move on to the migration analysis. So first we need to calculate the transition counts. So from these rows are the starting state at the month 12. What is the behavior of that account at the month 12? And then the columns are telling us what exactly is the ending state at the month 13. And these counts are computed via the countifs function from the data set. From the if you see the data tab, we have the month 12 status, we have the month 13 status, and the cross tab of these two columns is being considered to calculate the transition counts. And that's what you have got, the 50,000 of accounts, and that's the numbers that you have seen. Right? Now, these first row, if you look at, this is the cleanest row, the accounts that were clean at the month 12, but how exactly is that behavior in the month 13? So 35,600 of the accounts are there which are clean, which remains clean from month 12 to month 13, but some of the accounts, the total is 40,000, out of which 35,600 are the accounts which remained clean, but some of the accounts moved into the other buckets as the time progresses. And from this, I calculated the migration probability matrix, because percentage is something that is easy to visualize. Let me unfreeze the paint. Yes. Now the migration matrix. Here we need to look at the, it is easier to visualize in from the percentage matrix, right? So what I have done is I divide every count by its row total. So this 89% is coming out from B7. This B7 divided by the total number of accounts in that particular row. I hope you have understood till here. So from, if you look at the numbers as 35,600, but from the matrix, if you see, I can directly say that 89% of the accounts are the accounts that remained in the clean buckets. And this number is something that is that you can easily communicate to stakeholders. They can see that out of 100% in that particular clean bucket, 89% still remain in that particular bucket. Similarly, 8%, 2% is something that is being calculated from the count of accounts that is in that particular bucket divided by the total bucket. And repeating that procedure, you get a migration matrix from the probability form, where if you see, if you do the row sum of that, you will get a row total of 100%, right? And that should be the case, because only that should be the case. Why? Because from these total accounts you are merely calculating what exactly is the percentage out of that total, which are moving from clean bucket to other number of buckets. And this number can be a bit of volatile, right? Now let's understand what this matrix trying to tell us. If you see this diagonal matrix 89, 35, 35, 32, 40 and 80, this diagonal matrix is telling us what exactly is the percentage of the accounts that remained in that particular bucket. Let's say if you see 32%, this means that 32% means that in the month 12, the number of accounts that were in this bucket and that remained in the next month in this particular same 60 to 89 DBD bucket is 32%. So basically the average diagonal, if you see, it's coming out approx the 51.83%, means that the average probability a customer stays in that same bucket over the next month, right? And that's how you should read this matrix to understand how many of the accounts have moved forward. Yes, I haven't discussed the move forward. Move forward meaning that from clean to clean, this means that 89% stayed, but how many of them move forward in the buckets is over here. If you add these up, so you will say that 11% of the accounts is something that have moved forward from clean to other buckets, means basically they are deteriorating over here. They have started deteriorating. Now, 35% of the accounts are the accounts that remained in the 0 to 29 bucket even on the next month. But from this, 40% are the accounts that move backwards. Mean they are curing, they are improving, they are getting improved. So 40% are the accounts that got cured. So this is the roll backward rate for this particular bucket. And for this bucket, the roll forward rate is 30 to 59, 60 to 89, 90 to 119 and 120 plus. So the sum is coming out to be 25%. So this is the roll forward rate and 40% is the roll backward rate. Now let's look at the 90 to 119 DPD. So the diagonal is 40%. This means that 40% of the accounts are the accounts that at the end of the month 12, they were in this bucket, and when the month changes, they still remain in that particular bucket. But there are approx 47% of the accounts that got cured, but 30% still move forward to the other bucket, right? So that's how you should read out this metric. Now let's discuss the other part, the decisioning part. So now for that, what we need to calculate is that what we have discussed is about the roll forward rate roll backward rate, and the stay rate. All these values are the formula driven one from the migration matrix, and nothing is static. And this will help us to understand the decision that how we need to take that, right? So we need to translate the migration matrix into a defensible and a mathematical definition of default part so that we can help understand everybody. Now the part A, the roll backward, stay and the forward is from by the starting bucket is something that I have summarized over here. Now at the starting bucket, if you see, we have seen these accounts, right? The 40,000, 60,000 is something that is the status of our accounts, right? Now in this, the other one is the roll backward rate that I have discussed. For the clean, everything is okay. So nothing is going to go backward. For 0 to 29 DPD, the roll backward rate is 40%, right? The 40% is the roll backward rate. Now, similarly for the other rates, we discussed regarding the, let's say 60 to 89 DPD. The roll backward rate would be 60 to 89 DPD. So here you would see 89 DPD, the 32% is the cure rate, and these are the roll backward buckets, the good buckets for this particular. So it is 56%. 56%, right? And similarly, you would compute the stay rate, the roll forward rate, and then you will do the row total check. This should come out to be 100% as discussed. So basically, the clean bucket is the one that is most performing. It is most clean performing, the performing bucket. The 0 to 29 DPD is the early delinquency bucket, but it always have a strong curing potential. The 30 to 59 is the moderate stage bucket, and it has a reasonable recovery. Now, if you look at the column H, the cure to clean stage, this is being computed from the migration matrix from the B18. This one, the migration probabilities that I have computed, it is the cure to clean rate. Here is the clean rate and here is the cure buckets. So this is telling us the cure to clean percentage. Now over here, if you see, this is gradually declining, and if you see at the 90 to 119 DPT, it has drastically dropped to 2%. So basically what I have done is I have taken a threshold of cure rate of less than 5%. If it is dropping, I am dropping it, I am defining it that to the default definition. I mean the likely probability of going into the default definition, because the risky zone has now started to dominate, and now it just one can also take 8% of the thing, but when I have calculated the forecasting and everything, this 2% is making more sense. So one can also take 8%, but when I saw that from 8% it directly drops to 2%, so then it translates us to that this is the point of no return, right? Now the part B that I have calculated, I have defined over here, is the default threshold decision rule. So basically part B is using this cure to clean percentage, a strict cure matrix for the threshold selection. And this matches the procedured work examples, and the broad roll backward percentage in part A, the column C1, is very informative. This one is too much informative, and from there barely looking at these tables, we are not able to define concretively regarding our threshold definition. So what I have done over here is, from the starting buckets, these are the buckets defined, and I have put up the cure to clean percentage over here, and then I am looking at whether this threshold, the 5% of the threshold, is defining here or not. So basically the idea behind to define this threshold, in generally 10% of the threshold is taken, but I want to be a bit of too conservative so that we can have more of the I just want to look at, we can have more of the provisioning conditions that I will look at in under the step 9. So basically this definition is not stringent, but it's basically a conservative threshold. If only 1 in 20 accounts can only recover, that's the bucket that the practically lost the optionality of cure. So if you look at column C, so the yes no is basically which bucket is getting under the threshold definition. So this is our first default point, and basically a point of no return. So here the not cured accounts on the first part is 11%, but if you see under the 90 plus 1, 98% of the accounts is getting not cured, and that's a huge jump. So the default definition that has been derived is the 90 to 119 DPD is defined. The first delinquency bucket where the cure to clean rate falls to 5% or less. And actual here is 2% from the cure to clean rate. And forward roll to those buckets, if you see, that is 13%. And that's the operational point of no return. The stay at default is over here is 40%, but cure to clean rate, if you see, that becomes the 2%, which is very low. Now let's visualize this from the optimal default point, because step 8 is defined as about the visualization, making the default point unmistakable. So basically this data table is a consolidated one. Here the cure to clean percentage is being defined along with the threshold, which marks the operational point of no return where it satisfies the one, and where the curve below this line, this threshold line is cut, is our default definition, right? So what I did is I plot a graph over here where the cure to clean rate is defined across each delinquency bucket, and then if you see the default threshold crossing, this 5% of the default threshold crossing is being cutting at the 90 to 119 DPD. So this area is marking as the point of no return, because if you see, the graph is gradually declining, and then over here it merely the fall tendency gets stronger over here, and then the threshold is being defined. So everything needs to be account when one needs to define a threshold, not just merely by looking at the numbers, but from the visualization perspective as well. And this stack composition chart, it shows the forward roll dominating cure at the same crossover, right? If you see, this curing is dominating, confirming this the bucket of the point of no return. If you see, the forward roll percentage is being marked by the gray percentage, right? So if you see, this 13% cure to clean is being gradually declining, the stay at rate is okayish, but forward roll percentage is something that is coming from the graph of the 5% threshold, and that is something that it is also holding over here. So from this analysis, I derived that the default threshold is 90 plus. Now let's discuss basis that how our forecast will look like, because step 9 takes everything that we have built and it projects it into the future, and this is where the roll rate analysis becomes a forecasting tool and not just the diagnostic one. So basically, first is the transposed matrix from the step 4, this table, the transition matrix calculated over here is being transposed, and then basically the Markov assumption, it states that the next state depends only on the current state. That's the Markov assumption. So basically, we project the portfolio forward by repeatedly multiplying the current state distribution by the migration matrix. And after n number of months, the distribution we'll understand in the below tables, like how the distribution is coming over the month 13, 14, and so on, how many months that we want to look at. So now the starting vector, the Markov matrix should have a vector. So this is our starting vector, the month 12 counts that are being pulled alive, and then we have already seen the percentage of the share that is going into these accounts. Now comes the main part, the Markov projection. For the month 13, I am counting it as one step. For month 14, it is two steps, and month 15 means 3 steps, and each subsequent vector is being computed as the month matrix multiplied by the current vector that we are considering. And that's where we'll see how this 90 plus DPD population is growing, because banks want to use the definition to understand what's the trajectory is looking, so that banks can use whether banks can use this definition or not. Let's say I derived the definition 90 plus, but banks would also want to see, let's say you picked up this definition, but how would the loss forecasting would look like? Only after that they can confirm to take those definition. So that's my starting state that we have seen. Now month 13, the next month count would be from the Markov definition. It's the matrix formation of the current matrix, the current vector multiplied by the matrix for that particular state. So basically it's a matrix multiplication for the clean state for the current, using the current vector v0 and the transition probability matrix for the clean one. Matrix multiplication of these accounts would give you the first data point for the clean one. So initial seed value would remain same, but exactly change would be this composition. So for the month 13, you have your first point as 38450, which will account once you have all the numbers with you, let's say for 30 to 59. But this will do, it will get, you have to use a current state of this one along with the matrix multiplication of the 30 to 59 dpt for this particular state. What's the migration matrix would be for this particular stage? Similarly, you calculated all other rows and then you convert it into the percentage to see how the composition is looking like. So you would see 76.90 is something that we will have over the next month. Now for the month 14, the two-step part. Once you have your 13, now the seed value for month 14 would become this one. So the seed value will become this month 13 counts that you have just now computed along with the matrix multiplication of the initial probability matrix. So that's how you will calculate the month 14 counts, and similarly the month 15 counts would be as similar. Here what I am doing is that taking the difference between the counts that I have computed to understand what exactly is the status. So what I am trying to say is I want to look at what was the initial state versus what was the state, what the state has become after the 3-step at the month 15. So that's what I am looking over here from the probability matrix, from the percentage one, like 8%, 10%, 66%, over from the so on. Obviously you need to take the absolute values to understand the behavior. So from the performing stage, you would see that the 90 plus, at the 90 plus, the riskiness is increasing, right, from the dark yellow to red zone. And that's what the key default rate forecasting matrix looks like. So basically, if you look at this matrix, the month 12 counts, that is the 1000 of the accounts, right? It is coming out from here, right? Now similarly, you can calculate the month 13, month 14 and 15 accounts, how the default population is looking like. And if you see, the percentage of the portfolio for the 90 plus 1 is increasing in the other 3 months, the forecasted that we have. Similarly, for the write-off pool, I prepared a summary. Like in the month 12, we have 500, but 13 in the 13 we forecasted a 683 of the count, then the 869 and the 1047 from here. Right. So the idea is to build a summary one, and similarly for the whatever the accounts are left are the performing one. So if you see from here, the month 12 count is gradually increasing, right? So starting from month 12 distribution, we apply the migration matrix basically 3 times to compute the 13, 14 and the 15 one to understand the expected portfolio shape in the month 13 and 14 and most importantly the 15th stage. So if you see the 90 plus default, this pool is basically growing from 1000 at the month 12 to 1927 at the month 15. Basically, if you see, it is the 3.85% of the portfolio. A total change, if you do a difference, so basically it's a it's an addition of the 927 of the accounts in the month 15. And likewise, the performing pool is getting drifted to the lower numbers. That's not very good. And this validates the urgency of intervening before the accounts cross the 90 plus DPD, because you will see that the accounts are gradually declining once you crosses this threshold, and that's what we are seeing from the forecasted metrics. And that's what tells us that the 90 plus is an appropriate definition to choose from the forecasted one, right? So let me bring back what it means. The default definition that we have mathematically defined, the 90 plus 1, is because that's where the cure rate collapse below the 5%. And this validates as well the Basel definition that we have. So basically, the 3-month default pool rate, it grows to 92.7%, right? And it is, this definition is being aligning with the Basel 3 as well. And this Markov forecast that we have done, it tells us that the default pool will nearly double from 1000 to approx 1927 is nearly 2000, right? So this is telling us that it will gradually double if you didn't intervene in the right time. And that's a forward looking signal that we have seen over here to build the reserves now, not after the losses that you will see in the future. So you have to take a step today itself. And from the model governance perspective, every cell, every table should be formula driven, and there are no hard coded results from the model governance perspective, so that it becomes a live auditable risk model and not just a pure static value definitions. So, to summarize, what I have done is I have taken a 50,000 data raw or low accounts. I built our migration matrix, and from then we identified the bucket where the cure rate mathematically collapse, which validates our Basel definition, and projected. Then I projected the 3-month forward rate as well to understand how our roll rate analysis will look like, and what's the definition that we are defining from the roll rate, is it also coming out from the projected definition as well. And that's where everything aligns so far. So I hope you have understood what I am trying to understand. From theoretical perspective, you should definitely watch the previous video. And for this one, I'll try to upload this Excel sheet in a template form, the unfilled one. And I want you to calculate everything by pause the video to understand the formula, to apply your analytical thinking, so that you can have an hands-on. So I'll try to do that. Till then, I would request you to watch everything from start to end. And that's what from my side regarding today's video. If you have any questions in your mind, you can drop them down in the comment section. Also, you can let me know your feedback, how exactly the learning experience is going on till now, and how have you liked this video so far. So if this video has added any value to your learning journey, I would request you to please like, share and subscribe to my channel, and also share my channel to your friends who are already in this journey or preparing, so that this will help them, and let's build our community together. So see you in our next video. Thank you so much.